We are continuing our time in Wittenberg, Germany, and last year it was the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther nailing the 95 Theses to the church door in this village. And believe it or not, the people of this small town are continuing to celebrate that event to this very day. There's a festival going on behind me and a concert that is in full swing. But while we are here learning about the Reformation years of Martin Luther's life, I thought it would be important to understand that there are other pastors, theologians, and leaders that were instrumental in the Reformation. Dr. Stephen Nichols, the president of the Reformation Bible College, often will speak of what he calls the Wittenberg Five. We could fall into the trap of thinking that Luther was a lone reformer who championed the Reformation on his shoulders all by himself. At times that might have been true. However, it is also true that Luther was not alone. He had several important associates that were extremely important to him, both personally as close friends, as well as those who were a part of the efforts of the Reformation. I'm going to borrow from Dr. Nichols' list. The first of the Wittenberg Five is Nicholas von Amsdorf. Amsdorf was born in the same year as Luther, 1483, in Torgau. In 1502, he was among the first entering the class right here at the University of Wittenberg. By 1511, he was among the professors of theology here. In 1524, he moved on to Magdeburg, and at the end of his life, he was in Eisenach. In fact, he spent most of his life in Eisenach. He was installed as a bishop there in 1542, and he held that post until his death in 1565. Von Amsdorf was with Luther when he posted the 95 Theses, and most importantly, he was also with Luther at the Diet or Diet of Worms. The second of the Wittenberg Five is Justus Jonas. Jonas was born 1493 and died 1555. He, like Luther, studied at Erfurt. He was there from 1506 to 1510, so his time there overlapped with Luther just a bit. And also, like Luther, he went from Erfurt to study at Wittenberg. He studied biblical studies and theology from 1511 to 1514. Now, afterwards, he went back to Erfurt and was there as a professor until 1521. Jonas went with Luther to the Leipzig debate, and there he was convinced of the truth of the Reformation. And he went with Luther to Worms in 1521 and afterwards decided to leave Erfurt and to come here to Wittenberg. And from 1521 to 1524, he was at Wittenberg with Luther and was later with him at Halle. Jonas was actually with Luther at the time of his death, and he would record some of the last moments of Luther's life. The third of the Wittenberg Five is Johannes Buchhagen. Luther called him Dr. Pomeranus, in other words, the great doctor. Luther considered Buchhagen his pastor. He was born 1485, so he was actually 2 years younger than Luther. He was born in Poland, and he died here in Wittenberg in 1558, and he's buried in the castle church. When he read Luther's On the Babylonian Captivity of the Church, he said, "The whole world is blind. This man alone sees the truth." The fourth of the Wittenberg Five is Philip Melanchthon. He was Luther's successor, the one who is most closely associated with Luther. We'll reserve an entire episode just for Melanchthon since he's so critical, not only in Luther's life, but probably more importantly in the development after Luther's death. Well, who was number five? Well, that would be Luther himself. So there you have it. That's the Wittenberg Five: Nicholas von Amsdorf, Justus Jonas, Johannes Buchhagen, Philip Melanchthon, and the man himself, Martin Luther.